Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got another Harbor Freight tool review coming at you. This is my 1,000-pound crane. It's a pickup bed crane. It is the taller version. They do have a version that is a little bit shorter that sits down and fits in your truck bed a little bit better. Kind of tucks in up underneath the bed rails. So this is the taller version. It has just been hanging out here in my utility trailer for the last about 6 months. I've used it for some heavier duty things. I've used it for some lighter duty things. I drug in like a 500-pound and probably a 700-pound zero-turn mowers into the trailer with it, literally just like this, exactly how it is. Ran the cable out. It was the middle of winter. The tires were no good, and I drug them into the trailer, and that was pretty impressive. It might be why it's bent just a little bit this way. That's all right. Probably has more to do with my mounting than the actual crane itself. I've also just picked up like a 250-gallon water tank under the trailer. Probably would have been easier just to drag it up the loading ramp and put it in the trailer, but that's all right. Probably the most demanding thing I've done with it is I have picked up a couple of different blades. We're talking 3-point blades for a tractor, and hoisted them up and put them in the trailer. And one of them was probably like a 6-foot, and I actually had footage of that, and I actually just deleted it before I put the card in the camera on accident, and that's gone. But I picked up another 8-foot blade, so it's basically the same video, just a bigger blade, heavier blade, and we set it in the trailer here. And that was probably a solid 600-700 pounds. Is like an 8-foot blade, so it's pretty good size. I don't know, I've probably done a couple other little odds and ends with it, little things with it, and it's held up pretty good so far. So let's bring you in a little closer and look at basically all the components and talk a little bit about it. So let's just start here at the hook end. The hook has held up fine. It's been withstanding the weather pretty well. The cable as well. We'll show you more of the cable as we go up, but it's doing pretty good. No frays or anything like that. It seems to be like a pretty decent quality cable. You do have a wheel in here that definitely has a little bit of rust on it that you can see. Looks like the cable might even have a little bit. There's a little rust in the tube. Paint has started to fade on the telescoping tube inside of here. There's a few paint chips and everything. Who knows who that's the fault of? Probably me. The paint for the weight ratings is holding up pretty good. And the gray paint that they have most of the crane painted with is holding out pretty well too. It looks pretty good, I think. So the winch is also holding up good. Here's more of the cable, not frayed or anything. As you'll see, there are some cap screws that mount the winch to the crane itself, and they are seeing some rust. There's a washer here that's seeing some rust. So there's some rust around it, and there is this hole here. One thing I don't like is that water is definitely getting in that hole. It's definitely running down the bottom of the tube here, because I'm like 99% sure that this is open and it goes down to the base. I don't remember if there's a hole in the base. Have to make a little correction here. There is actually no issue with that little hole in the top. Yes, water is getting down it, but down in the bottom of the base there is a hole, as you can see here from this video, so it's not actually a problem. They do have a little grease zerk here that works pretty well. It puts some grease around for pivoting, and you definitely want some grease there for that so that the thing will pivot around nicely. This is where the pin goes, is in these. Just right now I don't have it set up. Well, I could right now, but anyway, I'll mess with that later. This hinge is doing okay so far. All the welds are doing good. The welds look pretty good, honestly. The jack itself is holding up pretty good. I haven't had any leaks or anything like that, but I do have just a little bit of rust here in the corner, a little bit of rust there, a little bit of rust in here. That pin has a little rust on it. Nothing too big. Where the rust is really bad, and I actually already filmed some of this and it just didn't turn out, so I had to come back. But basically you should be able to see some rust in here. There was rust on the cylinder, but it actually just wiped right away. So the cylinder itself's not rusting away yet, but the jack body itself, it is getting a little rust here on this nut on the top. So I may need to replace that, or you know, whatever parts here in the future. I give it 5 or 10 years, it'll probably hold up just fine. If I had to complain about one thing with the design, I would say that I wish that this top pivoting piece fit a little bit tighter to this. That being said, I will admit that that might be on purpose so that it pivots nice and easily, but it just seems like it could pivot as good or maybe even better if it was just a little bit more of a snug fit. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe they don't even make material. You can see it's loose. It's actually my mounting bolts that I have to tighten up, and I'm glad I did this review so I can notice that. But yeah, so maybe a little bit tighter there. That might be nice. Like I said, that might be on purpose, so just take that for for what it's worth. I do just have to say that overall, I am really happy with the crane. It's done pretty good work for me so far, and it seriously is one of the best additions to, especially like a utility trailer like this that I haul a lot of stuff in. I do think that some improvements to the quality that could be made on this is definitely in the paint department and just weather protection in general, but outside of that, I think it's doing pretty good. I don't really have a whole lot to compare it to. I've never owned any other crane or anything like that, but I think so far it's pretty nice, and I probably would buy one again, especially at this point in time. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I want to say it was somewhere around the $120 range, and I think I used a 20% off coupon on it back when you could use those. I definitely think it's worth the price. It's super handy to have. I've been able to do jobs with this crane that I was alone on and wouldn't have been able to do without a second person without it, so definitely just super handy to keep around, and I'm really happy with it. I think it's holding up great. So just a couple things before we finish up this video while you watch some of the work that this crane has done for me. I thought it'd be worth mentioning a couple of other things. I have not really abused this crane. This clip right here is the closest I have come to quote unquote abusing the crane. So if you're going to abuse it and be lifting up, you know, ridiculously heavy things, trying to overwork it, go beyond the weight limits, things like that, I imagine that there's a good chance you might run into some issues. I've tried to keep it within the weight ratings and tried to be pretty gentle with it and take care of it because simply I don't want to replace it. But nothing has bent or broken. Everything has been working really well. Even the hydraulic jack. I know some of the hydraulic jacks from Harbor Freight don't always have the best quality control. They don't always last the longest. Like especially talking about some of their bottle jacks and stuff. Their floor jacks are great, but the bottle jacks don't always last. Anyway, back to this. The hand cranking winch on top of this crane, I have to say, is pretty impressive. I lifted up, like I said, this blade with it, and you'll see me cranking on it at some point in this video. And, you know, I'm just lifting up, I don't know, it could be anywhere from, let's say, 400 to 800 pounds. I don't know exactly how much it is. I'd guess around the 550 range if I had to say. And I'm just able to just, I wouldn't say easily, but without a ton of effort, able to lift that thing with the winch alone and then swing it on over into the trailer. So the winch itself is honestly good quality and surprising. I know a lot of people like to put the little 12-volt winches on them. That's something I've thought about. I actually have a 12-volt winch on this trailer already that I actually also have a snap block that I hook onto the crane and I lift the crane up to some height and then I run the winch cable through, and it just helps to pull things up into the trailer a little bit higher. So I've used that a couple of times. I haven't done enough with it to really say whether or not that's a really good system for it or not. Anyway, it has done plenty of work for me, and I think it's one of the handiest tools I've owned. So I'll probably do an updated review in the future with it. If you guys like videos like this, make sure you click subscribe. If you like Harbor Freight tools, welding, utility trailers, just all around tools and equipment and everything, definitely consider subscribing. And if you like this video, give it the big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. We'll see you in the next video.